alliance government will come in center. Congress will lead.
More than a year to go for the next Lok Sabha elections, but Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge has already admitted that there will be an opposition coalition taking on Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. Kharge also declared that it will be the Congress leading this alliance, a claim that has been made weeks after only a handful of opposition parties turned up at his unity meet in Kashmir at the end of the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
We are talking with other parties because otherwise the democracy and constitution will go.
Just a few days ago, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar said he was waiting for a signal from the Congress to work towards bringing opposition parties together.
एकजुट होकर के अगला चुनाव लड़ना है, ये जिस दिन फैसला कर दीजिएगा और उसी दिन हम सब लोग एकजुट हो जाएंगे, हम मिल करके लड़ेंगे, तब जान लीजिए आप अच्छी तरह से मुक्ति हो जाएगी। अगर मेरा सुझाव को अगर मान लीजिएगा, कहीं 100 के नीचे जाएंगे, जान लीजिए।
But are opposition parties going to play along? Regional satraps like Mamata Banerjee, Arvind Kejriwal and K. Chandrasekhar Rao have increasingly national ambitions.
If you vote for TMC, vote for TMC, and it's a challenge that we will defeat BJP in the 24 election. It is all commitment and credibility.
And Congress is competing with these very same regional satraps in state elections.
The history of the TMC, you know the violence that takes place in Bengal. They came to Goa, spent huge amounts of money in Goa, and the idea was to help the BJP.
Recently, Prime Minister Modi had declared that he alone is giving the entire opposition nightmares.
देश देख रहा है एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है। देश के लिए जीता हूं, देश के लिए कुछ करने के लिए निकला हुआ हूं, और इसलिए ये राजनीतिक खेल खेलने वाले लोग उनके अंदर वो हौसला नहीं है, वो ढूंढ रहे हैं, बचने का रास्ता खोज रहे हैं।
So are the Prime Minister's words ringing true? Will it be Modi versus who in 2024?
All right, so does the Congress have a claim to be the fulcrum of the opposition? The numbers don't necessarily support this particular ambition because the strike rate of the Congress party in the 2019 Lok Sabha election was just 9%. The Congress won just 54 out of the 500 plus seats that it contested. The Congress's vote share in 2019 was under 19%, which means less than 1 out of 5 voted for the Congress party. In seats where they were in a direct contest with the BJP, and there were over 180 of them, the Congress won just 8%. Just about 15 or 16 seats is what the Congress won in direct contest with the BJP. There are as many as 93 seats which the Congress has lost for the last 4 elections, which means for the last 20 years, the Congress has not won these 93 seats. And there is not one Congress Rajya Sabha MP in as many as 17 states. They registered also their worst performance in the recently held Gujarat Assembly elections, where they were brought down to less than 30 seats. Now, when it comes to opposition and opposition unity, the problem is that everyone wants to be the prime ministerial face. In the Congress alone, while Mallikarjun Kharge might be the party president, Rahul Gandhi remains the most likely person to be projected as the PM contender. After the Aam Aadmi Party got a majority in 2 assemblies, Delhi and in Punjab, convener Arvind Kejriwal is now nursing national ambitions. Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao is also hard at work at building a third front. He has even changed the name of his party from Telangana Rashtra Samiti to Bharat Rashtra Samiti. TMC Supremo Mamata Banerjee's national ambitions got a jolt after the party's poor show in the Goa Assembly elections last year, but she still is a force to reckon with, particularly in eastern India. And then there is Nitish Kumar, who is a popular OBC leader who's been eyeing a national role for a number of years now, but he's not trusted by many in the opposition. Ultimately, even if they decided to overcome their individual ambitions and join hands to beat the BJP, the opposition will still not have the numbers. Because let's take a look at the breakup of the current Lok Sabha. The BJP and its current lot of allies have 331 seats. The UPA has only 109, which basically means the BJP has twice more the number of seats for every seat that the UPA has. Parties opposed to the BJP but with personal ambitions, they have another 60-odd seats. And the parties that have a history of having sided with the BJP have about 37. So if you were to put all of that together, the 100 plus that the UPA has, the 61, which is other parties like SPB, SPBRS, etc., and then the 37, which are parties that have sided with the NDA prior to this 2019 election, then it adds up to just about 207 as the Lok Sabha stands today. So 207 on the one side, 331 on the other. Exactly how are these parties in a position to unseat the BJP? Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us. Syed Zafar Islam is BJP spokesperson, Amitabh Dubey, Congress Party spokesperson, Dr. Shashi Panja is Cabinet Minister in the state of West Bengal, Dr. Nadan Mehta is the author of the book The New BJP, and Rashid Kidwai, author and senior journalist. Let me start with Amitabh Dubey. Amitabh Dubey, has Mr. Kharge's statement, whether unintentionally or otherwise, let the cat out of the bag that in 2024, the Congress on its own cannot match the BJP, cannot take on the BJP, which is why even over a year to go for that election, and your party president has already seemingly conceded that only an alliance can take on the BJP, the Congress on its own cannot?
Well, let me remind you that the current government, even though the BJP has a majority on its own, is also an alliance government. It is a coalition government. So for the last several decades, coalitions have been the norm in India. Only two parties in the last 3 decades have reached triple digits. That is the Indian National Congress and the Bharatiya Janata Party. So I think it's quite logical, as the Congress president said, that an opposition alliance will have to be centered around the Congress party. You talk about different political parties, the various regional parties you mentioned having a mind of their own, and of course they're entitled to having a mind of their own. But no coalition is frictionless. Even the current coalition government, the BJP-led government, has its own frictions amongst different political parties. The Shiv Sena, the TDP, the JDU, the Akalis have at different points of time abandoned the NDA over various differences of opinion. So I think to assume that a grand opposition alliance would be completely frictionless, I think is not consistent with history. What matters is whether these parties are together for the election in 2024. And I think it's very clear, given the history of this country in recent decades, that only a national party has the stability and the strength to carry
while
these
that may
parties
be the
together for a
case,
stable government.
there is this statistic which I never tire pointing out, because I think that is the story of the elections, particularly in 14 and in 19. And I want to ask Syed Zafar Islam this. There were 180 direct contests between the Congress and the BJP in states where these are the two principal players, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc. Out of those 180 seats, the BJP won 164. The Congress won just 16, which means the BJP had 10 times more wins where there were direct contests between the Congress and the BJP as opposed to the number of seats that the Congress won. If that ratio is going to be what it is in 2024, then there is no question of the opposition, even coming within striking distance of power, because the battle is already lost in this direct fight between the BJP and the Congress.
Zakka, first of all, Congress needs to understand, while the rest of the country understands, but Congress needs to understand that opposition is a divided horse. Secondly, who they are counting as their alliance partner. You heard after Kharge's statement, you heard what did Mamata Banerjee said. You heard how did BRS reacted to this. Nitish Kumar reacted to this. Many other opposition leaders have reacted to this. Can AAP join hands with Congress? Can BRS join hands with Congress? Can many other parties join with Congress? No. There is absolutely no chance. They will drag down Congress at the first given opportunity, because they are directly fighting in their respective states, and they have defeated Congress to be in power. So how Congress is even considering these political parties as their partners to fight their battle against BJP? It is certain. You said 16 against 160 of BJP. This time it will be 0 for Congress. They will be completely disseminated this time. peculiarly because people have understood that neither Congress has strength, and as rightly Mamata Banerjee has pointed out, first you keep the house in order. People are leaving your party and you are saying that I have to bring all the alliance partners together under one umbrella, and that umbrella is being provided by Congress party. It is not going to happen.
Okay, so let me ask Dr. Shashi Panja. You know, the
let me tell
problem,
you
Dr.
very-
Panja, is
No,
that
2024,
your
just
pa-
last second.
Yeah.
Last sentence. 2024, it will be BJP alone 350. Somebody from Congress was talking about that BJP has, we have 60 seats and we are a national level party, but BJP and we also can have alliance with other political parties and form the government. But you also understand BJP alone has more than majority.
Okay.
303.
Okay.
Forget
so let
about,
me ask Dr.
other political
Shashi
parties.
Panja.
We have-
You know, the problem, Dr. Panja, is that the TMC, Aam Aadmi Party, other smaller regional parties have national ambitions. Nothing wrong with that. But ambition versus reality on the ground, you may be the number one party, the numero uno party in Bengal, but your relevance beyond Bengal is maybe 2 or 3 states, a handful of states at best. Congress party also. Congress is in power only in 2 states, not much more than where you are in power, but its relevance is there in at least half of the number of states across the country. Therefore, any opposition alliance to take on the BJP would necessarily have to need the Congress round about the figure where it was when UPA 1 came to power, which if I'm not mistaken, was around the 130 mark. So let's say 100 plus for the Congress is the only way the opposition can give the Modi government and the NDA a challenge, because the other regional parties put together just simply don't have the numbers. Like I outlined, in the current Lok Sabha, there are only 60 seats between you, BRS, BJD, YSRCP, all the other smaller regional parties. That 60 could at best expand to 75. That doesn't stand a chance.
Good evening, Zakka. Well, I'll tell you what, I hope you remember once Mamata Banerjee has said when she was trying to form the platform that I want to be the squirrel in the garden. And, it was always said that Congress and also the other parties, which all of us have been naming, should all be in this platform, and that she would play the role to unite. She never said that she wanted to be the prime ministerial candidate. Now, the point is, yes, of course, we are one state where we defeated the BJP, which was led by Amit Shah and Narendra Modi here in Bengal. You cannot discredit us that we did defeat them. It was a ladai in 2021, which everybody knows. Now, in Meghalaya, we are fighting the elections. In Tripura, we are. Now, what we are unhappy about is that Congress should also, we are not going to the Congress-led states, are we, to fight? Be it Rajasthan, be it Chhattisgarh.
No. You heard, Dr. Panja, you heard what Rahul Gandhi said today in Nagaland.
Yes, exactly.
He said that TMC, what is the relevance of a Bengal-based party to go to Goa and contest elections? He said, and these are his words, he said, the only reason you went to Goa is to cut the anti-incumbency vote, is to cut the opposition vote. That's what Rahul Gandhi said.
Absolutely. That is why our party general secretary said, look how irrelevant he is, and so unfortunate to say he's so incompetent. Now, look what happened in Goa. In just 5-6 months, TMC got 10% of the votes. Now, at that time, it was good. I mean, we could have worked out an alliance with Congress. But P. Chidambaram ji went and said, with extreme confidence, that Congress will go it alone. What happened? 11 candidates from Congress won. 8 of them have already left and gone to BJP. So who is actually helping the BJP?
Okay.
It's very unfortunate. And look at the ideologies. There's so much ambiguity. You are fighting the left in Kerala, but in Tripura and Bengal, you are fighting with the left. So unfortunately, I mean, we need to ask questions. They have so many questions that even they have to answer.
Okay, so let me put that to Rashid Kidwai. He knows a thing or two about the Congress more than any of us on this panel. So Rashid Kidwai, I mean, this is a fundamental question the Congress party needs to answer. You cannot, go to Kerala, Rahul Gandhi is an MP from Wayanad, let's not forget, call Pinarayi Vijayan names, and then tie up with the CPM in Bengal and tie up with the CPM in Tripura. In Tripura, the Congress is the junior partner to the CPIM. I mean, it can't be that, one set of rules apply in one state and another set of rules apply in another state. I mean, how are you going to explain these contradictions? Even let's take the case of Uttar Pradesh, right? 5 years ago, the Congress had an alliance, went into polls in an alliance with the Samajwadi Party, right? Today, is it in a position to go into an alliance of either with the Samajwadi Party or the BSP in the 2024 polls? No, I don't think so.
So, Zakka, if you look at the history of coalition politics in India, it's always been contradictions. In 1977, the socialists came with the Bharatiya Janata Bharatiya Janata. In 1989, it was the BJP and the left supporting VP Singh government. In Maharashtra recently, we had an MVA that with the Congress and Shiv Sena and NCP had come together. This is one thing. But I think in this context, in 2024, Rahul Gandhi is the biggest hurdle. The Congress, after Bharat Jodo Yatra, wants to prop up Rahul Gandhi. If Rahul Gandhi's name comes up as a prime ministerial candidate, there is no way.
Oh dear. Okay. I think we've lost Rashid's line. Let's try and see and wait for a second to see if we can get that back. I think he was making a pertinent point, but okay, Nalin, you want to continue that? Do you believe, like Rashid was just outlining, that he believes that Rahul Gandhi is the biggest hurdle to opposition unity in 2024? My question is, who is the other rallying figure in the opposition? I mean, I look at the opposition field. Yes, some of them are individually popular in their states. Mamata Banerjee, Arvind Kejriwal, maybe a Chandrasekhar Rao. But is there an opposition leader who has pan-India name recall? Certainly after Bharat Jodo, it only seems to be Rahul Gandhi.
So at the moment, Zakka, there is a big question mark on this. In the past, we've had, for a long time, there was a lot of hawa behind Mamata Banerjee. Then people spoke a great deal about Nitish Kumar. Both of these are now, it's clear that Nitish is well past his prime. He's more focused on Bihar. Mamata is now focused on West Bengal. The Congress, at the end of the day, let's look at the other side of the picture. At the end of the day, the Congress had 19% vote share in the last election. The BJP had 37%. Nationally, the Congress is the only force that can be the fulcrum of a national alliance against the BJP. The problem with that is that, firstly, the Congress is not strong enough in head-to-head contests, as you pointed out, not only in 2019 but also in 2014. But secondly, the Congress, at the moment, many of the allies are very wary of, many of the prospective allies, let's put it that way, are very wary of the Congress. You just have to see, even in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which did a fair bit for Rahul Gandhi's personal image. But if you see across the states, many of the prospective allies, they stayed away from it, including in UP. If you're not going to have Samajwadi Party, BSP coming together, if you're not going to have key opposition leaders coming together with you, there's a problem, because essentially any increase in the Congress is going to be at the detriment of the allies. And the Congress in many states, in states where it is not directly in competition with the BJP, doesn't have that many cards to offer. So a lot of the regional satraps are saying, look, what is it in for us? We might as well safeguard our home territories. Might as well try and see, you get more seats for ourselves, and then we can use it as a bargaining chip. Why should we give up more seats to the Congress? I mean,
so do you think that strategy, Tamil Nadu will work, in the sense that, I think Rashid also had this theory in the last debate, where he said, it's not about whether you can find 543 Congress candidates. Can you find 543 strong opposition candidates who can take on the BJP constituency to constituency? So in Bengal it could be TMC, in Andhra Pradesh it could be YSRCP, in Telangana it could be BRS, in Tamil Nadu it could be DMK, so on and so forth, in the left in Kerala and so on. Can you find the 543 best opposition candidates to take on BJP candidates in 2024? Do you think such an idea will even trickle down, will even work on the ground?
So look, I think this is an idea that theoretically has a lot of sway. Theoretically it sounds plausible, but I think in practice it's almost impossible to implement, because the local factors vary a great deal. In state after state after state where there are regional satraps, they are looking at safeguarding their own turf. I am not sure why many of them will compromise with others to say, because look, politics is now increasingly, apart from the BJP and the communists, politics is now increasingly non-ideological, if you like. So I'm not sure many of the opposition parties, which are prospective allies in a non-BJP alliance, many of them are actually looking at fighting an ideological battle in the way that many in the opposition and the Congress want them to fight.
So Rashid, you were making that point that you believe that Rahul Gandhi is the biggest impediment to any kind of opposition coming together, opposition alliance to take on the BJP. But my question is, I mean, you look around, especially after the Bharat Jodo Yatra, who is the one leader who has name and face recall across the country from Kanyakumari to Kashmir? I don't think it's a Mamata Banerjee or a Arvind Kejriwal. They may have their pockets of support, but it's only Rahul Gandhi.
Zakka, this is a simplistic way of looking at it. If you look at all coalitions, they always sprang a surprise, whether it was Morarji Desai, VP Singh, Deve Gowda, Chandrasekhar, I.K. Gujral, and even Dr. Manmohan Singh. So I think, the history is on the side of someone who's a non-contender. The problem is that unless the Congress wins over 100 seats or Lok Sabha seats of its own, which we find it very difficult, you have also pointed this out, I don't think the opposition is in a mood to play second fiddle to Rahul Gandhi, whether it's Mamata Banerjee, whether it's Akhilesh Yadav, whether it's any actually regional satrap. So this is a very piquant kind of situation. But it is not that the BJP can win very easily. Zakka, there are 4 states, Bengal, Maharashtra, Bihar, and Karnataka, where the BJP had got a lot of seats. This time around, the political situation is very different. So if there is a short fall of 50-60 seats, I think the BJP will be in trouble, because Mr. Zafar Islam can go on saying the BJP will win at 350 seats. In normal election, I don't see BJP crossing 220
seats. I heard this prior to 2019 also. BJP is maxed out in Uttar Pradesh. You got 70 out of 80. It's maxed out in Rajasthan. It's got 25 out of 25. It's maxed out in Madhya Pradesh. Got 28 out of 28. Gujarat 26 out of 26. So where will it? It is only bound to fall. You know what? In 2019, it did not fall. But be that as it may, I'll go to Zafar on that note in just one second. But I want to get Mr. Amitabh Dubey back, because I think the common thread in what everybody is saying is this: one, the Congress doesn't have any natural claims or rights to be the fulcrum of the opposition. Everyone in their own right wants to be, for better or for worse. They feel that they have as much rights to be the opposition fulcrum as the Congress party. And number two, please respond to what Mr. Kidwai and also Dr. Nalin Mehta said, that Rahul Gandhi, they believe, is singularly the biggest impediment or the obstacle to opposition unity. If he does not want to be the face to take on Mr. Modi, let him come out and say that absolutely plainly and simply, that I'm not interested to be the Prime Minister of this country. I'm not in an electoral race to defeat Mr. Modi, at least not one-on-one. I'm not the face of the opposition. Anyone else is free to come and take up that place.
I'm obviously going to disagree with both your the contentions that you put forth right now. If you look at, firstly, when you look at the 2014 election and 2019 election and somehow assume that the next election is going to be based on that, every election is very different. 2009 was different from 2014. 1999 was different from 2004. There is no law that says that the Congress is not going to get over 100 seats. And history shows that the Congress has that ability to do that. The Bharat Jodo Yatra, no party, I would say no party has, and I include the BJP in this, has the ability to do what Mr. Rahul Gandhi just did and the Congress party just did, marching from Kanyakumari to Kashmir on foot, interacting with lakhs and crores of people and engaging with them, discussing them, debating them with them. Now, pundits will be cynical about it because none of you and none of us have seen something like this before. That doesn't mean that it's not going to have a political impact. The election of 24 is going to determine by one, the fact that the Congress party has become a mass movement and intends to continue in this direction, and issues that have come to the fore, whether it's the role of the Prime Minister in protecting Mr. Gautam Adani and all of his nefarious, the alleged nefarious activities, handing him monopolies in ports and airports, using the ED and CBI and the LIC and SPI to enrich one crony of his, whether it's the China factor, the fact that the foreign minister just the other day said that we can't take on China because it's the biggest economy. Now, what kind of logic is that? You can't take on someone who's occupying your land just because the economy is bigger than yours. So all of these issues are new issues.
Okay.
We are going to take them forward with aggression, and this
So,
will have a
you know,
direct impact on the 24 election, which will
while
be
no
very
two
different from
elections
the
are the same,
1914 elections.
I agree with you in principle. No two elections are the same. The reason why we use the previous election as a base is because if the Congress party has to go from 54 seats to, let's say, even 100 plus seats, it needs to go from under 20% vote share to over 30% vote share. That is a 10% swing in favor of the Congress party. And that only happens if you can visibly detect that kind of anger on the ground. As of today, I don't see that anger on the ground, which indicates a 10% swing away from the BJP and in favor of the Congress party. But be that as it may, that's apology, that's arithmetic. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out in the 2024 campaign. But I want to ask Zafar Islam this. Again, coming back to arithmetic, Rashid Kidwai's point is well taken. Karnataka, Maharashtra, Bihar, these are states where the BJP maxed out in the last election. You will not get, Rashid's contention is, you got 25 out of 28 in Karnataka last time, you will not get that. In Bihar, you got 38 out of 40, you will not get that. So his contention is where there are states where you maxed out last time, you will not be able to repeat those numbers. Where are you going to make up for that shortfall? Zafar.
Well, Zakka, Mr. Rashid Kidwai can have his own opinion, and I respect that. Every individual can have entitled to have their own opinion. But let me tell you that we will have repeat performance in those states which he had highlighted, with be it Bihar or West or Maharashtra, or for that matter Karnataka or any other state where we had 10% votes or slightly less than 10% seats. But away from that, we will this time in West Bengal, we will increase our tally from 18. I'm sure that it will be very good number in West Bengal. We will demonstrate a very good performance in southern state, be it the Telangana or for that matter even Tamil Nadu. You will be surprised when you will see the outcome. We have put a lot of effort, and we'll demonstrate a very good performance in those states, in southern states as well. Away from that, if you see in many other states where we have lost a few seats, this time even in Uttar Pradesh it will be like 75 plus, all-time high seats in Uttar Pradesh, unlike 64 we had won last time. All put together, if we just analyze and put it in one basket, the number of seats which we are likely to win, it crosses 345. So we are expecting that we will improve our tally of 303 in 2024. Because
let's see how that plays out. Ultimately, the people of India have to decide that. Let me give Dr. Panja the final word. I really have to wrap up after this. Dr. Shashi Panja, I keep coming back to this question. You know, Bharat Jodo happened and none of the opposition parties, at least not the major ones, your party, Aam Aadmi Party, even Nitish Kumar and the RJD, who are allies of the Congress, who are part of the UPA, even they did not turn up for the finale of Bharat Jodo. And yet the reality seems to be this, that it is only the Congress party who can take on the BJP, whether it is in Karnataka, whether it's in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. There is no presence of any other party to take on the BJP in any of these states.
No, let us put it very categorically. Let the regional parties, where the regional parties dominate, let them continue to dominate in their own regions. Congress should not step in there. That's one. Second, just look at the performance of the Congress in the last 45 elections. They've lost out in 40. So that is something that they need to accept. I'm not going all out for them, but you mentioned that Bharat Jodo was a very good yatra. But just look at the rally today of Rahul Gandhi in Meghalaya. Even that speaks volumes. There were hardly any people there. So you need to accept all that, because BJP is basically living on a negative vote. It has nothing to, gloat about achievements. It's visibly worried. It is visibly worried, and that is why it has started to make its calculations.
No, there's no big brother here. Everybody needs to be I'm completely out of time. I need to thank all our guests, but not for a moment am I suggesting that the BJP does not have problems or the country is not facing any problems. But ultimately, when you go back to the people, and the people are going to ask a very, very simple question: if not Modi, then who? And the answer to that question, the opposition needs to find before the campaign kicks off for 2024 Lok Sabha, because if they don't, like in 2019 or even in 2014 for that matter, then I'm afraid that is a fundamental, almost an existential question as far as the election of 24 is concerned. And right now, the opposition does not have an answer. If not Modi, who? All right, let me now move on to the other big story. Again, this happened in Delhi. You may want to think of it as just a municipal corporation election, but it has huge symbolic value because of the circumstances leading up to it. There was a 75-day standoff. Today, Delhi finally got a mayor. The fourth attempt at choosing a mayor turned out to be successful. Aam Aadmi Party Shelley Oberoi defeated the BJP candidate Zakka Gupta by 34 votes. Since the MCD elections, which the AAP won in December, elections for a mayor were postponed 3 times. There was a prolonged tussle between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party over voting rights given to nominated members. Today's election was conducted following the Supreme Court order. The AAP's Ale Mohammad Iqbal has been elected as deputy mayor. Now, 10 nominated MPs, 14 nominated MLAs, and 241 elected councillors voted today. Shelley Oberoi, a former Delhi University professor, got 150 votes. Zakka Gupta of the BJP got 116. That's 3 more than the number of BJP councillors in the MCD, and also 2 independent legislatures and a member of the Congress voting for the BJP candidate. So, as we mentioned, before today, there were 3 attempts at holding mayoral polls in Delhi, and each of those attempts was suspended because of chaos in the House. The first attempt was on the 6th of January. Councillors from both AAP and the BJP came to blows. They raised slogans against each other. The flashpoint was the swearing in of nominated members. Aam Aadmi Party claimed that BJP made the aldermen take oath first to give them voting rights for the election for the post of mayor. And then the next attempt was on the 24th of January. Once again, there was ruckus in the House between AAP and BJP councillors. When the process for voting of mayoral election was about to start, AAP councillor Mukesh Goel raised objections, saying that the nominated members do not have the right to vote. And then on the 6th of February, the polls were suspended for a 3rd time. BJP members walked out of the chamber, shouting slogans against AAP and Arvind Kejriwal, while AAP members protested in the House for nearly 5 hours. So what were the major flashpoints that led to the polls being stalled as many as 3 times? AAP and BJP members were unable to agree on the question of allowing nominated members to vote. The AAP had strongly opposed voting rights for the alderman nominated by the Lieutenant Governor, who is the centre's representative in Delhi, and Arvind Kejriwal's party alleged that these members were inclined to support the BJP. AAP councillors and MLAs had protested over the alderman and not the elected representatives being administered the oath of office. Also, AAP had opposed the appointment of Satya Sharma by the Lieutenant Governor as presiding officer, recommending Mukesh Goel instead, who is the senior-most councillor in the House, for the post. The Congress had announced its abstention, sparking allegations from AAP of a possible deal between the Congress and the BJP. Now, 3 failed attempts at polls prompted Shelley Oberoi to move to the Supreme Court, which finally ended the dispute. The SC said that the alderman nominated by the Lieutenant Governor cannot vote. Judges led by Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud said that nominated members cannot go for the election. The bench also said that the constitutional provision in this regard is very clear. So what happens then? While today is a significant victory for the Aam Aadmi Party, the party is now faced with the far daunting task of getting an upper hand in the standing committees. While the new mayor is the nominal head of the civic body, it is the standing committees which have the executive powers. A mayor's powers are limited to calling special meetings of the House, declaring quorum for the House to convene sittings, and of course disqualifying members if they do not furnish details of their assets and liabilities. Powers to grant financial approval to projects, discussions related to and the finalization of policies are under the ambit of the standing committees. The standing committees have 18 members, 6 of them are elected. These are by the councillors. The remaining 12 will be elected by ward committees later. Having a clear majority in the committee is crucial for any political party to have control of policy and financial decisions of the MCD. All right, I'll be joined in a moment by Anuja Kapoor of the BJP. Priyanka Kakkar of the Aam Aadmi Party is joining us as well. Priyanka, so is it fair to say that after 3 failed attempts, today a 4th attempt, finally Delhi has a mayor, but not without the help of the Supreme Court, which rapped the LG on his knuckles and said that the nominated members do not have the right to vote in MCD elections?
Good evening, Zakka. That is correct. That it was very clear because the constitutional provisions in this regard are very clear that the aldermen had no right to vote. But you see the behavior of the BJP since the very start. They tried all their tricks with delaying the elections. There was demarcation. There was segregation of wards as per their convenience. Once that happened, they called in their 17 ministers and cabinet ministers who campaigned in Delhi and did a Hindu-Muslim politics. They failed there in Delhi. After that, Adesh Gupta ji accepted defeat and said he will not be contesting the mayoral election. Then the BJP flip-flopped again. Then 3 attempts were made. At all points, BJP created ruckus. It is very clear now that we had no reason to create ruckus. This is the narrative that the BJP was trying to build, and they failed there too. We, in fact, have filed FIRs against their corporators who injured ours grievously. That happened as well. They use their favorite allies. They used CBI and the ED as well. That failed as well. So finally, we had to seek the intervention of the Honorable Supreme Court, who upheld the law and the provision, which was as is clear, the proviso to 243.
No, I'll come to this
very
CBI and
clear.
ED and stuff because there's been a development on that story as well in 1 second. But Anuja Kapoor of the BJP is joining us. And Anuja Kapoor, it's fair to say that the Supreme Court really rapped the Delhi LG on his knuckles when it said that the nominated members or the aldermen have no business even coming to the House, let alone vote for the mayoral elections. It's only after that, and the Supreme Court came down so hard that your party had no choice but to relent to these elections. And finally, today we have a mayor after a good 2 months since the election happened.
Zakka Saab, I would just like to say first, congratulations to the mayor and the deputy mayor. Secondly, what we're talking about is the standing committee. I think the rules will need to be made. Confusions happen everywhere, and now we have a rule. So I think there is nothing to debate on it. First of all, we were not the ones who were doing the ruckus. The ruckus was still there today also. You have seen the newly elected mayor, how she behaved the minute she was a mayor. She allowed the phones in the house, and she allowed to click the pictures of the standing committee members of Aam Aadmi Party. And when BJP had a talk about it, we put forward in a strong position, and we said that we are going to do the election again of this, and we have complained. The 3 standing committee members have complained to the commissioner and mayor and the MCD. So we are committee, and we are talking about it, that this is not going to happen. So you can very well see what they are talking about. They do not, the secret ballot act does not allow the phones inside the house also. So I don't know what they are talking about the rules and regulations. I think they do not follow the rules and regulations themselves. How can you allow the mobile phones inside the house during this period? And I think this should also be taken into cognizance.
Okay,
no, we are fighting
mobile
for
phone
this,
or
and
no
we will
mobile
come up
phone,
with this.
like I said, after 3 failed attempts, finally in the 4th attempt, Delhi finally has a mayor after 2 months after the election and the people of Delhi spoke. But I want to go back to Priyanka Kakkar, and you talked about BJP's favorite tools, CBI, ED, IT, etc. That doesn't seem to be over yet, because against your Deputy Chief Minister today, sanction to prosecute has been given by the Home Ministry. This is basis the LG's feedback that there was an FBU that your government was running, not just to quote-unquote allegedly snoop on members of the opposition, but also on members of your own party, madam.
I find these allegations laughable for several reasons. Let me begin sequentially. They could not do an Operation Lotus like Karnataka, Meghalaya, Madhya Pradesh, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Goa and Delhi. So they are bitter about it. Also, what you will see, you'll recall, Zakka, there was a Chunglu committee in 2017. The Chunglu committee under the Najib Jang, when he was the lieutenant governor, they went through all our files. Each file they went through, and after a few years, they had to give us a clean check. Now, they have such a flawed law and order running under them that the Chunglu committee had no complaints then. And now after 7 years, suddenly they wake up and they're alleging one more thing. So they're just managing the optics. What they want to show to the world is that we are corrupt like them. Because the CBI should ideally be going to Madhya Pradesh, where there's a midday meal scheme, corruption allegation in the CAG report itself. But no CBI there. No CBI at Adani's door. No JPC for Adani. No CBI in, say, Karnataka, where it is called a 40% ki sarkar, and the contractors are committing suicide and naming BJP ministers. No CBI there. No CBI there on Hemant Biswa Sarma, who Amit Shah ji said is the most corrupt politician. So, you know, what is this? Their law and order is so flawed that Shulu committee में भी नहीं मिला. 8 साल बाद ये जाग रहे हैं. This is the state.
So Anuja Kapoor, respond to that. Also, Anuja Kapoor, I think what is being asked by the Aam Aadmi Party is why this double standard? Karnataka में तो आप CBI, ED, IT नहीं भेजते. बाकी जगह जहाँ बीजेपी की सरकार है वहाँ पे आप एजेंसीज नहीं भेजते. सिर्फ ये ऑपोजिशन के लिए ही है क्या ये भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ जो कार्रवाई है?
कर तो लिया इन लोगों ने शुरू FBU को. He wanted CID. He made his own CID. So what is it to talk about? So he has a CID. He couldn't have Delhi police. So he had a Punjab police. You know what he has done? He sent the Punjab police here in Delhi to, arrest many people from BJP. So what to say? They just keep, victim playing baby cards. And I think what they are telling it to me or to BJP, let's please go in the court and then talk about it. It is not us. It is the CBI who has put it through. It is the CBI who has put it through. It is not us. And CBI is a constitutional body. And I think they don't believe in Supreme Court. At one day they will believe in Supreme Court. The other day they will not believe in Supreme Court. Then CBI is doing something. CBI is doing something for Congress and many other people. They are very happy. But when something happens to them, they start crying. Now, Satyendra Jain
but Priyanka Kakkad, isn't there a cloud over your party which came to power promising that हम कट्टर ईमानदार हैं, हम भ्रष्टाचार मिटा देंगे? I mean, it's not just what happened today. The FBU is just one part of it. The liquor gate scandal, Satyendra Jain scandal, DTC bus scandal. Even if let's say, I buy whatever you say, even if there is not an iota of truth in any of these allegations, but in public perception, people are like, ये तो बाकी सब पार्टियों की तरफ ही है, ये भी तो चोर है.
That is their intention, Zakka, but they're failing. That is the reason that we have been elected thrice in Delhi. That is the reason that 15 years of their misrule has ended in Delhi. That is the reason we made an entry into Gujarat. That is the reason people gave us a Bhari Bahumat in Punjab. That is the reason we have 2 mayors in India now. We are a 10-year-old party. So their allegations don't stick, and people realize that this is a jhootha corrupt party. I'm telling you with utmost certainty that all the corruption, this is the most corrupt party India has ever seen, unfortunately. And we have complained regularly. It's not like we haven't made complaints, but the investigation agencies are with the central government and no investigation happens.
Okay, Anuja Kapoor, I'll give you the final word. Forget about everything else. ये liquor gate का case भी ले लीजिए. You had multiple raids, पूछताछ हुई Manish Sisodia का, and then charge sheet में तो उनका नाम है ही नहीं.
So charge sheet में नाम नहीं है तो इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी ना कि वो accused नहीं है. FIR में नाम है. It will come up, and when he will come up, he will join Satyendra Jain and say hello to him inside, and Sukesh also. So I find it very funny when I sit with Aam Aadmi Party, no knowledge whatsoever, and they just start, doing blah blah blah. Are manifesto they can't do it. Guarantee to rejuvenate Yamuna, pollution, 3,000 hospital beds, Jal Lokpal bill, 20-degree colleges, power stations, what not they have talked about. So look at it in Punjab, look at it in Tarantan, look what Bhagwat Man CM is doing. People are coming inside the houses.
Okay.
This is Aam Aadmi Party who's sitting
All right.
and talking
let's call time on this. Thank you very much, Priyanka Kakkad, Anuja Kapoor, for joining us. Like I said, at least one thing is clear. Delhi, the national capital today, has a mayor, something that should have happened weeks ago. But finally, after all the hand-wringing and all of the back and forth between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party, finally, today there is a mayor of Delhi. And hopefully, she can fix some of Delhi's pressing problems. Let's now move on to our international story segment here on Brass Tacks. Even as US President Joe Biden visited Ukraine and Poland, China's top diplomat Wang Yi traveled to the opposite direction to Russia. The optics of these two trips, which are taking place just days before the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, underscores the sharpening geopolitical fault lines between the world's two biggest superpowers. While Biden's stroll with Zelensky in Kiev sent a strong message to Putin, Wang Yi's visit to Russia put the spotlight on China's attempts at diplomatic balancing act. Since Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine, China has offered Putin diplomatic as well as financial support. But for now, they have refrained from overt military involvement. And the US fears that could change very soon. Now, these two fronts come even as ties between the United States and China have hit an all-time low. The US is concerned about issues including China's military activity around Taiwan. Beijing has accused the US of creating quasi-alliances like the Quad to counter and contain China. And the most recent one, the spy balloon saga, which has further deflated ties between Washington and Beijing. In the backdrop of this sort of tense ties between the two biggest economies in the world, Wang Yi hailed China's ties with Russia. He said that China-Russia ties are rock solid and mature in character. They will withstand any test in a changing international atmosphere. Wang Yi also said that together with Russia, China is ready to resolutely defend its national interests and dignity and promote mutually beneficial cooperation in all areas. Meanwhile, it does not end with just Wang Yi. According to a Wall Street Journal report, Chinese President Xi Jinping is preparing to visit Moscow for a summit with Vladimir Putin sometime in April or in early May. This comes even as China is hoping to play a more active role in ending the war in Ukraine. As per the report, Xi Jinping is likely to push for multi-party peace talks and reiterate China's calls for not using nuclear weapons. Xi Jinping's trip is likely to coincide with Russia celebrating the World War II victory, Victory Day in early May over Germany. At that same event last year, the Kremlin had likened Ukraine's elected leaders to neo-Nazis. Now, between Chinese expansionism and Putin's war against Ukraine, the world is wary of both countries, so it's only natural that they have found each other. After Russia invaded Ukraine, most Western countries imposed strict sanctions on Russia, but not China. In fact, China's overall trade with Russia has hit a record high of $190 billion in 2022. That is a 30% increase compared to the year before. While Russian trade with the United States, UK, and EU countries slumped in 2022, Russian imports from China increased 13% to $76 billion. And its exports to China increased by 43% to $114 billion. A large part of it, in fact, almost half of all of the Russian government's annual revenues come from oil and gas, and its sale to EU countries has plummeted over the past year. But Russia has managed to overtake Saudi Arabia as China's top crude oil supplier. The one area that is untapped is arms exports. China has been expanding its military production capabilities and is now the world's fourth largest arms exporter. The United States claims that Chinese firms have already provided non-lethal support to Russia and that it has new information suggesting that Beijing could soon provide lethal support. An influx of Chinese weapons could be a game changer for Russia, which is grappling with a dwindling supply of weapons. At the moment, Russia is overmatched by the West, which has been providing weapons and military aid to Ukraine. But if China comes along, any advantage that Ukraine has had because of industrial capacity of the West would soon disappear. Beijing is also keeping the line of communication open with the European Union. In fact, several European leaders will be making a beeline to China, if not having already made a beeline to China. In fact, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited China in November of last year. A business delegation accompanied him, sending out a message that Berlin is keen to boost its commercial ties with Beijing. Xi Jinping also held talks with European Council President Charles Michel. This was via video link in April of last year. And then late last year, Charles Michel also visited Beijing and met with Xi Jinping. French President Emmanuel Macron has plans to visit China in March. He will be there to discuss energy, trade, and of course, the war between Russia and Ukraine. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni accepted an invitation by Xi Jinping when they met at the APEC summit last November. Now, these high-profile visits indicate that China has a lot at stake in Europe and vice versa. The European Union and China were the largest partners for trade in goods in 2021, raking in about 1.9 billion euros every single day. The EU exported a little over 200 billion euros worth of goods to China and imported 470 billion euros worth of goods from China in 2021. The top 10 European investors accounted for 70% of all investment in China in 2021. Since 2011, China has emerged as one of European Union's largest source of imports. Europe is also home to a large number of Chinese students who are attending universities there. So, given that the stakes are so high, would China risk getting militarily involved in Russia? China is likely to strengthen its cooperation with Russia in accordance with its own national will and its national security concerns. But exporting weapons could lead to Western sanctions against China, putting its ties with both Europe and the United States in jeopardy and burning all bridges with capitals in Europe, as well as, of course, with Washington. So China might end up supporting Russia clandestinely by supplying weapons via state-controlled companies, North Korea, or even proxies like the Wagner Group, rather than directly supply it to the Russian military. Now, what is interesting is that we're given to understand, and Wang Yi mentioned this today in Russia, that Xi Jinping will be unveiling a peace plan, the Chinese peace plan, to try and broker peace between the warring countries, Russia and Ukraine. Whether or not there are any takers for it, either in Ukraine or in its Western allies, that is something that needs to be, we have to wait and watch for. That's a wrap. Thanks very much for tuning in to Brass Tacks. Good night.
Waqf land in India is hardly benefiting actual Muslims on the ground. Several Muslim victims themselves have come out to say. So actually benefiting Waqf boards is not a benefit to ordinary Muslims.
India as a society is still not prepared for live-in relationship. The parents completely not in agreement with an equation of this nature, and the girls do not have the option of coming back, because if the relationship goes wrong, then where do they go back to?
It's okay to float the idea of a Sanatan board, but the community itself stands divided. How does this construct come by? Do they get elected? Do they get nominated? It's again opening a huge can of worms.
You cannot have it both ways, where on the one hand the survey has nothing to do with the documentary, and yet at the same time the documentary is all evil and it needs to be clamped down upon like a ton of bricks.
Absolutely false case. The feedback unit was stopped after 6-7 months only, and is trying to say that they were snooping via that particular unit on the people and the other politicians, the BJP politicians and others. This is absolutely baseless, concocted, fabricated, and not going to stand the scrutiny of law.
There's more trouble for Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in the snooping case. According to LG office sources to CNN News 18, the Ministry of Home Affairs has now given sanction to prosecute Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia under the Prevention of Corruption Act in the Feedback Unit snooping case in Delhi. LG VK Saxena had approved the CBI's request for prosecution sanction and forwarded the same to the Ministry of Home Affairs. The CBI had sought sanction to register FIR against Sisodia, who heads the Vigilance Department of Delhi government, under which the AAP government had in 2015 surreptitiously created the FBU, an extrajudicial intelligence agency to spy over different ministries, opposition political parties, entities and individuals. Akash, can you tell us more about this sanction that has been given by the Ministry of Home Affairs to prosecute Manish Sisodia?
Oh yes, so it is the biggest development. In fact, after the approval and recommendation of Lieutenant Governor, this is the development that we are getting where the Ministry of Home Affairs has finally given its sanction to prosecute Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia under the Prevention of Corruption Act in the FBU case. Now, Anjali, this is for our viewers. Back in 2015, when Aam Aadmi Party got a thumping majority in Delhi, these FBU units were created, and the allegation is that these FBU units were created going beyond the line. And in fact, no approval from the cabinet was taken. In fact, Manish Sisodia used to head Vigilance Department, and this particular proposal was moved by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. So this is the allegation. In fact, just a few days back, when CBI conducted a preliminary inquiry in this particular case, this particular report was sent to Lieutenant Governor, and in fact, in the note of Lieutenant Governor, it was mentioned that prima facie it's a big violation of not only the legislation but also this case is pertaining to corruption, and that is the reason why now we are learning that the sanction to prosecute Manish Sisodia is under the Prevention of Corruption Act. Also, if I can quote, Lieutenant General from that particular note, and I quote, "I am of considered view that the case requires to be further investigated by CBI deeply after registering a regular case. I therefore approve the proposal of Director of Vigilance to forward the request of CBI in respect of Manish Sisodia, Deputy Chief Minister." Now, we have seen a whole lot of political drama over this particular issue where, in fact, Bharatiya Janata Party said that this was the real intention of Aam Aadmi Party, and back in 2015, in fact, they were very clear that they are in the particular government to keep an eye on other political parties. They just want to track the developments. They just want to track the ministers of the central government. This was the initial allegation from the BJP. And in fact, the preliminary inquiry, several points were made in that preliminary inquiry that how initially 16 posts were created under the Vigilance Department. And even when, nobody, had that sort of power and, they went beyond the powers that were given in the legislation. And soon after that, while, LG recommended this particular case to Ministry of Home Affairs, now we are learning that, sanction to prosecute Manish Sisodia. In fact, now we are learning that a case would be registered against Manish Sisodia, and it would be a second case by CBI, because we know that how in the excise policy case, his name has been very much there in the FIR, and in fact, he's a very part of investigation. On 26th of February, he's going to appear before CBI. So this is the second case. It will be important as to how Aam Aadmi Party would react to this, but this is an important development where, in fact, MHA has approved the sanction to prosecute Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia.
Pallavi, can you tell our viewers why exactly did Aam Aadmi Party set up the feedback unit back in 2015?
So the whole idea of the feedback unit, or the FBU as they call it, is to address the grievances. We take feedback from the people, we try and find out what their concerns are, and we are going to address their grievances, which is fair enough. But unfortunately, what was also happening is that the FBU was set up only violation of the norms, not even gone through the usual rigmarole of going through the cabinet, informing the LG's office, so on and so forth. But worse is, what it was discovered was that it was actually being used to target the political opponents of the Aam Aadmi Party, which included also the BJP plus the Congress. So there's always this allegation that you are using this unit actually to snoop in on the activities of the political opponents and use it for your own political advantage, and possibly also as far as your governance is concerned. That is where the objection has come to. So the process which of course goes to is that the LG has to seek the sanction of the MHA, recommends it to the Home Ministry that we should go ahead and prosecute the Deputy Chief Minister because he was the one who had ordered it. And once the Home Ministry gives that prosecution to the CBI to register an FIR, it's just now a process which is going to be put into place ASAP, and this would be seen as a huge setback, and I would say a very, very serious allegation against the Deputy Chief Minister and eventually on the Chief Minister.
We have BJP's RP Singh joining us on this story. Sir, now Manish Sisodia is in fresh trouble, and the Ministry of Home Affairs has given sanction to prosecute him in the snooping case. How would you like to react on this?
Well, they have used public money for the political objective. And that's why the case need to be pursued and followed by the judges. And how they use that money and with what objectives, that will be clear.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma.
Lots of action around Ukraine as the first anniversary of the war draws near. After the US president visited Ukraine and spoke in Poland, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was in Kiev. She promised support, but not fighter jets. And now Japan wants to lead the world in fighting Russian aggression, as Tokyo puts it. They've promised $5.5 billion in aid to Ukraine. And they're also hosting an online G7 summit with Zelensky. Like